for Southwest Licking Local School District here at 7:01 p.m. on February 17th in the Board of Education meeting room. I'd like to recognize all of our visitors, both present in the room as well as those online. If you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
to the flag
Of the United States of America.
of the United States of America
And to the republic.
and to the republic
For which it stands.
for which it stands,
One nation.
one nation,
Under God.
under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible,
With liberty.
with liberty
And justice.
and justice
For all.
Justice for all. That was awesome.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Engel,
Here.
Mrs. Moore,
I am here.
Mr. Ziny, Mr. Vincent,
Here.
Mrs. Spindler.
Here. We have a quorum. We can continue. Do we have any public participation today? Okay, great. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
Second. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. And that passes. Second item, we have a couple of presentations. First up is Miss Jennifer Ashbrook from Pataskala Parks and Recreation Update. Welcome.
Thank you. I have a couple of these passion for the race I'd like to pass out real quick.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
And before Jennifer gets started, I just wanted to share that I had asked her to come to a board meeting. She's the representative that the board recommends. So I kind of wanted her to share so we could get to know, what she's doing and how that works.
I was really excited to get the email. It's the first time you guys have asked, and I've been your representative for probably 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
So thank you. There's been a lot of changes in those 20 years, from not having a levy and still not having a levy, and pretty unfunded situation with the Parks and Rec right now. We have 7 parks in Pataskala. Not all of them are sports related, but quite a few of them are. We have soccer registration going on right now. We have 526 signed up right now for youth soccer, which is really exciting. And I would say that I think Lanier crunched some numbers and said that 76% of those are your school district here.
Oh, wow.
So that's really exciting. So with that, we see a lot of Southwest Licking youth. The parks would love to figure out how to partner more. I'm pretty sure Lanier's talked to you a couple times about maybe getting some space inside to do some things. Problem is, we just have Lanier. We don't have other people to carry on rec programs and things. So if there's any partnerships that we can be formed, that would be great. We have a technology esports program that we're starting. There 12 computers, I believe, at City Hall, and 2 different programs that they're running. Smash Brothers, I believe, is one of them, and I'm not sure which the other one is at this point. It's our 2nd season of doing that, and it's been pretty good. We've got 4 signed up right now, and we're pretty excited about that. Amazon and TechR2 has really stepped up and helped us with that program and funneled quite a bit of funds in to get those 12 computers. I have a lot of knowledge, but I'm not a good speaker. So if you have any questions, what you would like to see us look at or see what we can do to be happy to.
So I would be curious, just because we haven't had
the board meets twice a month. There at City Hall, it's the first and third Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. We very rarely have anyone show up. It's just the board. There's 5 of us on the board. There's a representative from Southwest Licking, which is me. There's a representative from Licking Heights, and then the other 3 are appointed through the city. Our meetings consist of trying to go over everything that we can. Lanier does a good job of trying to make sure he covers everything. We do some things by email, but it's more just updates on, hey, this field got rained out, or those kind of things. Then we can't carry on public stuff that way. So they usually last about 2 hours, to be honest. There's a lot going on with, the city took back the pool and is running the pool. So Lanier is in charge of that. We're trying to get lifeguards. And I know he's been here up at the school trying to get some youth involved and trying to get some summer jobs. So we've got that. We got soccer coming up, and that's a big, big thing. We'll do softball. We do adult softball. Most of the softball and other programs are just other youth organizations using our facilities, which we allow. There's a small fee for using our facilities, and I believe Licking Heights Youth Association is using it. We have the Clippers. We have, there's probably 7 different people using our facilities at any time. So we don't have lights at our fields or anything, so they get pretty crowded sometimes. Any other?
Thank you for
Okay,
coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime
We
you have a
appreciate
question or
it.
anything, feel free. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, second presentation, Mr. Janelle on the construction update.
Well, thank you for having me back. There's so much going on that it's sometimes hard to put a presentation together that covers all your interests and concerns. So we'll run through what I have, and you can stop me at any time. And of course, at the end, if you have questions, we'll try to answer them for you. So again, a lot of things happening. These are the OFCC projects again. It didn't turn out as well as I'd like. The top 3 are green. That means we're open and running. Doesn't mean that everything's finished, but those buildings are now housing kids, and everything's moving forward there. The Watkins Middle School is currently under renovation. Kirkersville, we're currently discussing the CD phase. That's one of them that's real close to the very end, so numbers are getting worked out. So that will be coming your way fairly soon. And the new elementary is in the SD phase, which is just right after the POR, so you're starting to get a little bit of the layout of the building, and that's coming together fairly well. And then the last one was the middle school demolition, and again, that's to be determined depending on how things cycle out with Kirkersville, middle school renovations and things like that. So that's all part of the OFCC. And then we have Southwest Licking projects. Dr. Perkins has invited me to help out on some of the other projects within the district. So as we're looking up here, the Watkins Athletic Building, again, you guys did that. Although there's a little technology from the Watkins Middle School that's not done yet. So when the Watkins renovation is finished, there'll be fiber run to that building, and then from that building, it'll be run to the athletic building. Okay, that's not done yet. Watkins football home bleachers, press box, there's still some things that are going on there, such as if you've gone into the press box, you know that the electrical panel doesn't have a cover, so that's being redone. But again, that was up and running in August of 2022. The connector road blue lights, if you've driven down Warrior Way, you know the bases are there. There was a little bit of confusion between the 2 parties on how to connect the fiber. One was brought in a little bit shallower or more shallow than the other. So we've had our meetings and we're getting that worked out. So fiber's going to be run, and those should be up sooner than later. The Watkins tennis and ball fields, obviously you guys know about that. So, and I think Dr. Perkins and Mr. Jones are going to talk to you a little more about that. Football and soccer lights, again, we know in the football season last year, those went down. So Kevin Paskins, the maintenance guy, been working with him. We're making sure that we get the power working, and then from that point on, try to make it more efficient. So there'll be things coming back to you on that. The Watkins football field, Southgate relocation. Again, the home side switched. We have not moved that location, that ticket booth on the south side. That area is being renovated extensively right now, part of the Watkins Middle School project. That area will actually be where the dumpsters go in the future, so that ticket booth needs to be moved towards the west. And then the Pataska Elementary renovations, again, that's something that you're going to do without the OFCC now, and we've not started any discussions on what's going to happen there, but that will be part of our projects. So a lot of other things going on, but those are the major items. Kind of to mention to you that these buildings are open, but we are working on a few things. The AC unit and the technology closet. We finally believe after, I don't know, it was what, Jeff, about a year, full year of problems with that. A little over a year. Yeah. It finally worked out that it was just not filled with enough of the refrigerant. And there's a whole bunch of technology behind it, but essentially the manufacturer came out with a little higher tech equipment and realized it was about 1.5 pounds short. Filled it up, and we have not had an issue since that particular time. So that's looking positive. Wi-Fi speed, it's more of Jeff's area, but every one of our new projects, again, we've toned it down a little bit to get them to work functionally. Jeff's been very active, along with a lot of other people, to try to get this thing moving to the 2.5. And there are some positive things happening right now. Again, if you ask a little bit later, I'm going to kind of defer to Jeff, but we've got some trial areas going on right now that hopefully will be positive for us. And then we have the 11th month punch items that are going on, interior and exterior. That's one of the parts of the OFCC that's very important, because after that 12-month, you lose the warranty on a lot of items. It becomes responsibility of the district, so we like to try to catch as many things prior to that. Watkins Memorial, a lot of similar things. The auditorium, as you remember, it finished late. It's still not completely done. Some of the seats in the top row, there's some concrete and things that are going to be done this summer. It looks, 95% done. If you walk in there and really scout around or haul me in there, I can point out a few things that are going to be taken care of this summer. Again, that's all going to be part of that 11-month. But this item is going to be extended beyond the substantial completion deadline, which is usually where the 12 months starts. Wi-Fi speed, again, I put that down because we're working there with it. Change orders, a lot of the items that you're seeing them in there are items that the district has requested to add on, and that comes at the completion of the project generally if there's a little bit of money left over, and some items that we felt we wanted but didn't want to spend the money in case we needed it for the unexpected. Those things are taking place right now. Heavy rainfall and downspouts, and then some electrical and plumbing issues. Matter of fact, with Friday being off and Monday being off, we're hoping that a lot of those items can get taken care of this weekend. Now, somebody's supposed to ask me about the...
I was waiting for you to stop. Yeah, clearly, we have to ask you to talk about the rainfall.
I think you guys have all seen this.
Uh-huh.
So you probably have a video very much like what I'm going to show you.
Yep, yeah.
But it is geysers coming out of the downspouts. And what's really confusing is that the same designers and the same company put them in over at the 4 or 5 building, and at this building the same. There's a lot of philosophy, whether it's getting enough air. We've sent down motor vehicles to see if anything, decided to live down there. Didn't find anything. Some people feel, again, it's air, need a little bit more of that, and some feel it's dead heading into each other. So if you have a pipe that runs towards you guys, and then you have a downspout coming this way, and if it goes in perpendicular, it's going to crash into the water going this way. And you have a lot of see that happen where streams meet. There's a lot of turbulence. Well, that doesn't allow the water to flow to the right, the direction it's going, so it slows it up and backs it up. So simply by maybe putting, instead of 90s, putting 45s in the direction of the flow, you can keep that water moving. So those are the things we're looking at. It's just Why does it need to be there and not at the 4 or 5? It's just really, really confusing.
So is that causing all of the rain to come out of the gutters also, within your picture, how there's such a downfall?
That is being addressed, once we're finished with that to get the water out, yes, because most of it should not carry over like that, but if the gutter's filled, then yeah, it doesn't have any place to go, so it's gonna shoot across, yes. But if it still remains and the gutters are, downspouts are fixed and the gutters overflow, then you see them in homes, they'll put a shield up, slow it down and spread it out.
Okay.
Is this
Might need
why
some of that.
kids at the high school are not allowed to go outside anymore? Cross between the two wings?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You know?
I know that, no, it was just a couple of days because of the ice, there was a lot
Okay.
of ice, and that was changed yesterday with that opening.
Okay, I just didn't know if there were, I didn't have a chance to ask anyone, but cool, thanks.
Okay, so we are working on that, if you've seen that, so there's quite a bit. The detention pond out front, it's been, addressed, and I got a picture of that coming up, but there really is no reason that water's not making it there.
Well, it was filled today.
Yeah, but it won't, it slowly releases it, so it doesn't flood
Okay.
downstream. Yes,
This is a owner's request, change notice fee kind of thing. I don't know if anybody's brought this up, but, you know the scoreboards in the gyms?
I was going to bring that up today.
They don't have any cages around them, which means if they get hit,
I also heard they weren't working properly.
okay, I don't know about that, but I know if they get hit with something, they're gonna bust. They're gonna break.
okay.
And if do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's.
Our old ones had cages, didn't they have cages?
Well,
You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
We brought the old ones over
They
for the
didn't?
main gym.
Okay, should they have cages around them?
A lot of those are sometimes made out of materials that are pretty strong. They can take certain abuses.
Okay.
Now, indoor scoreboards generally aren't rated for softballs or baseballs.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily
The
talking about
cage
softballs.
thing will
They're
be-
using softies inside, so I'm not worried necessarily. I'm just talking about even if a basketball hits it. Are we?
We wouldn't be able to utilize the big screen if it had a cage around it, right?
Okay, I don't know, but
I don't either.
somebody said to me, doesn't that need a cage around
I
it?
don't know.
So I don't know. I'm asking the question. You can check it out.
I can definitely check it out.
Check it
but
out for me,
we did not
okay?
have it at the other location.
Okay.
And the Nevco, which is a different brand in the auxiliary gym.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, the scoreboard wasn't functioning. Unless something new's come up, I'm looking at Jeff. I thought the scoreboard was
Yeah.
fine. Matter of fact,
I thought they were fixed too.
I'm sorry?
I thought they were fixed too.
Yeah, the backboards were faulting or shorting out because there were too many wired to one breaker. That's been fixed, so you can
Okay.
take all 6 up at the same time now.
Okay.
So that's
Cool.
good. But I can,
Yeah, we can double check, but I
Yeah.
thought those problems were taken care of.
right, yeah, I thought everything was working on the
I just
scoreboard.
thought they had mentioned something on Monday night that they were,
It's possible, we can find out for sure.
it's fine.
Okay, Wi-Fi speed, misscoped items, same kind of things here at Aetna. Give an example of like a change order. See, somebody's supposed to ask me, give me an example. Okay, well, anyways, we've put the digital signs over at the 2 new builds. We waited on Aetna to see where we stood at the very end. Aetna allows you to have one sign. So where that stone is at, that will be removed, and then there'll be a digital sign that puts up front. Dr. Perkins and Mr. Jones have agreed to move forward with that. So it's gone through the process. It's a change order, so they're going to have to wait on the right conditions out there. Just FYI, there was a box put outside of the asphalt, so they don't have to dig up the asphalt. So the proper wiring and things are already on that side of the grounds, in anticipation of us wanting to do that.
Are we saving the stone to put somewhere else?
I was gonna ask. It'd make a really nice bench for kids outside, out back.
I mean,
Well-
we're gonna be remodeling, I'm not sure the right, but we're gonna be working on the outside playground and the back of Etna this summer, so that would be somewhere we could look to include it.
Right
As long
now,
as it doesn't get destroyed.
right now, it's yeah, I don't know how hard it is for
Yeah.
them to be ripped out, but we don't have it in there to save it. So if we do want to save it, we need to change
How many
that.
thousands of pounds it is?
It's probably pretty heavy. It looks heavy.
Your backyard.
So, well,
Yeah,
if you
we
want to
can-
keep it, you
we
talk
can
later.
Reconfigure that for when we're looking at the outdoors
She
in
wants
the
to
back.
buy it. So
Okay.
Yeah, I said I'd buy it.
Pictures on the site. All right, everybody,
It's gonna be
Dr.
heavy.
Perkins loves when I bring pictures, positive pictures. So the site being non-building things. This again showing you the blue lights, but you can see, I just point out, if you've gone by, you saw some digging. That's where they're connecting these poles to. Actually, it runs all the way back to the 4-5 building. The 4-5 building will run all the way to the new Watkins Middle School. That's all, those conduits are all there. These are just the conduits leading to the blue lights. So eventually they'll have a camera and be activated. There'll be a little more concrete on the back side of each of those blue lights, and that's to help with the connection of the existing conduits coming in from City Electric, meeting up with Citywide, who is working on the blue lights. All right. These have been done. You've seen these, the crosswalks. They're cutouts. So kids can cross through there, and there's still going to be a little bit more curb work done, but that's still happening when weather cooperates. This is showing you, that's where you said it was filled up today. The drains have put in, so you can kind of see the remnants of the drains. So that's going to help collect the water, flow the water down to the end that it needs to be so it doesn't sit there, and then it's released into the nearby stream. So all of that's progressing. The east side of Warrior Way, where all that dirt is, that will be spread out, and then it will be rock hounded, and then it will be seeded. All right, so moving to the project right now that has the most going on, the most conversations and everything. So what I tried to do, I got the drone out there. Instead of showing you all the way around, the 2-minute and 42-minute slide, I went ahead and segmented them together to make it a lot quicker. So enjoy a little music. But you can see the water line going in there on the north side. Kind of gives you, the roof is something that we've had replaced, so as we get around, except for the metal portions, the rubber roof is all new. We're having a tough time finding somebody to take down that tall tower.
Do you want an antenna?
Oh, what?
Do you want an antenna too?
No, I just would like that sign and I'll pay for it. When you put it on eBay, let me know.
Beautiful roof. One of the things that we noticed with our white roofs, and it may be, Roger was here, he could probably help us, somehow our white roofs turn dark. We don't know if something's jettisoned, or if it's just the traffic, the flow. So that was a quick tour around. I did ask, working with Jake Perkins, right now, that side between the building and the track, we've closed that off because they're digging and they're putting water lines in, they're putting storm drain lines in. But in talking with Robinson, that will be available in approximately a week or two, weather cooperating,
Okay.
and we'll still have access for handicap parking back there. We're going to probably ask the rest to park out front or down at the old tennis court area. Okay. Right now, baseball players are parking out by the athletic building, and they're walking the sidewalk. There's a sidewalk there now, so it's not through mud unless they decide to make it mud. All right, so let's go. Let's take a look inside. So let's land that drone. And let's kind of move in the front door. I thought that was kind of cute, but anyways, as we go in, I bypassed the security door because I came right in the two doors that are still going to be accessible when they want to have large crowds go in and out. But that oddly shaped entrance there, that will be a storm front. That will just be a large window. So they'll come in the first door on the right where they used to kind of be, and they'll go into the office, and then they'll come out that door into the main hallway. To the left side is the guidance, and that has changed. So if we get you out there and you walk through there, that is a small group room. It's not badly sized either, probably about 20 by 30. So it can be used for a variety of things that they decide to use it for. So we're just going to kind of walk down the hall a little bit. We're kind of looking west. You're seeing that the main hallway is being modified. You got the bump out of the library. So let's take a look. This is the first thing that you'll notice. Again, we've moved the boys' bathroom from over by the dining area. This is the boys' bathroom off to the left. Where I was standing taking this picture behind me would be still the girls' bathroom. So there is a mechanic or custodial closet right here. So it looks like there's multiple entrances, but it is actually boys' bathroom to the left and then custodial help there. All right, so let's kind of reorient ourselves, and we can kind of look off to the right again, you start to see the dining area, the bump out of the library. You can see how they've taken that bathroom out, if you look down to the white, and they've opened it up so that that's going to be one large dining area. Now, the support columns are going to have to remain, but it will feel like one big area. So let's kind of move down there, down a little bit. We're peeking back. They're doing some major renovation to the kitchen. So as we get a little bit closer and peek in there, you can see that about everything's gone. Some things have been preserved and will be put back in because it's a renovation, and there'll be some new appliances that will be added. All right, so we're back out there into the hallway, but we're looking back at it now. I kind of turned around, so the cafeteria is now to your left. The front entrance is straight ahead, and to the right are your academic spaces with the new hallways. So I did a 180, I think. Yep, 180. And we're going to kind of go down the hallway a little bit, seeing that there's some areas that you recognize, and others that are changing. The wall to the right is now a plastered wall. Used to be kind of the outside-looking white block wall, so that's happening. A little further up, you can start to see some of the ceiling grid that's going to go in to hide some of the HVAC equipment, and then there'll be other ceiling portions that are going to be left open. They'll be painted. This is at the end now on the west wall down by the gym. That's ceramic tile.
That's new, isn't it?
That is new.
Yeah.
Yep, certainly
That's
is.
nice.
Adds some color. Somebody told me as you look at it, if you look at it long enough, it begins to move. So I said, well, okay. I won't say anymore. All right, peeking in the gym, the floor is completely gone. We are going to be replacing, due to some discoveries in the HVAC equipment, we're going to be replacing the hard duct in there and putting a sock very much like the new gym. So airflow in there should be good and be a lot more efficient. There's going to be runs down the middle versus the old equipment just kind of went around on the outside. They were kind of amazed that it even heated and cooled the building in that area very well. So kind of explains graduation. So.
Yeah.
All right, this is also another major change down at that end. We're looking outside the locker room in, so there's been some doors added, but also where that lift is, there's some walls that have been taken out. So I walked right into one, looking back. You would have been through like 4 different chambers by the time you got there. So that's becoming a little easier to maneuver through. So again, it's hard to show all the different pictures of that, but essentially things are becoming pretty uniformed, and I think a little bit more of a 2 sides with the athletic training room kind of in the middle. Okay. Here's the band room. It's undergoing, again, renovation. The flooring, learning from the high school, is going to have what they call flock flooring. If you need to see that, I think Mike has a piece in his office, which will help with the sound. But we also had a question about the room that was created between the band room and the choir room. It's not really the greatest on this, but if you're in person, and we took some of Jared's kids through, they took pictures of this. I think this is about a 300-pound door. It is like twice as thick. There's a rubber gasket down through there. That whole wall is like extra thick, insulated to keep that sound. It's not going to prevent all sound, but it's certainly going to, it's been designed to minimize any sound going from one room to the next. And again, that door was left there, that opening in the design, so that if that band area is used by a high school band on like a Friday night, there's an outside door in the next room. They can go straight through. Here's the auditorium. A lot of things going to be happening there. This was all added on by the board after the fact. So this is just showing you that it's been stripped down. So again, work's beginning in there. The wall's starting to get painted. Carpeting will come in, chairs will come in. One of the issues that we're facing right now is that the entire building has to be sprinkled. And this has a very messy roof. It really has clouds, but the clouds are kind of really close. So the sprinkler system may have to go down and it may have to go up because there's a little bit of a ceiling above and it's not closed off. They're openings. It's kind of unique. So we're trying to work through some of that. I always point this out, that a renovation and new build, this is a combination of it. So if you go into a room and you see conduit on the wall, it's probably a wall that was there before. And if it's a drywall or a new wall, then that kind of conduit was put into the wall. So You'll see rooms right next to each other that maybe look a little bit different, but they'll all, the three arrows, what I'm pointing at is they're all going to have the same technology, same drops, just how you get it there is going to be a little different. And this is one, I really thought of Kathy, but old bathroom, new look. This is gray tile. If you walk into, this is actually two different bathrooms, but they're both girls' bathrooms, but it shows you that they're getting cleaned up quite a bit, and the glow is like, look, la, 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 kind of
Yeah,
thing.
those black walls were awful.
So a lot of that's getting cleaned up. So hopefully that will meet everybody's expectation there too. Tech rooms, of course, we got a couple tech rooms. This is one of them that will, Jeff will inherit, and hopefully one that will work for all the teachers and keep us up and running. I guess I'm to the end. Again, these are just things that I thought may interest you, but there's a lot more going on. If you have questions, I'll take them, but if not, I'll have a seat. Actually,
I have one question.
Uh-huh.
When we moved the younger kids to the middle school, did we say anything about playground stuff or any?
We're gonna be ordering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thought we had said that, I just didn't remember.
Yes, absolutely.
So will the boys using the weight room be able then to walk along the side, you said, in about a week?
It's time, actually, we're discovering, unfortunately, water lines that were not recorded and also storm lines. We're having it seems like whenever they dig, they find something. So until we get that whole side mapped out and the things put in, we've had actually a water leak on that side for years. Everybody's thought that the pavement wasn't laid right, but water was coming up. They found that, it's flooded them out, so they're working on that for us.
Okay.
So as soon as all that's taken care of, I talked with Kevin Mueller from Robertson, and I said it's very important that we have it. I understand during practice it's an inconvenience, but we need to have it ready by games so that parents, especially those that need to be a little closer apart, can make it back there. And then, Jake said if that's not the case, then he would do some kind of shuttling or something. He would work it out for those families. But I'm not going to tell you exactly how that will work. That will be up to him, but we've talked about that.
I couldn't tell by the picture of the track, but I'm pretty sure the first track meets at the end of March. And it looked to me in that picture that part of the track was closed off too. So I know you had mentioned having that place open, important to be open by games, but does that include the early March? Not early March, but like March 20-something track. There's a track meet.
There should be no. The track's not. It's not closed. No,
Okay. Well, in the picture, it looked like the edge of it was like.
Do you want me to go back? Or?
You don't have to.
I don't
Maybe
know how
I
far.
looked.
It's probably a lot of slides.
I believe you.
We had to lock. That's just snow.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a fence right there. We're to the south side of that fence, and the north side hasn't been touched.
Okay, got
We
it.
did have to lock up the field because
Yeah.
unfortunately I walked out there and there were cars that had driven on there, so we changed that up.
Is it going to be done in time?
We work very hard to try to hit our dates.
Yeah, no.
I would probably say that this one's going to be a real struggle to do that. We just found out that the electrical panels have been delayed by a few months. We've kind of worked through the generator, but then the HVAC, we just spoke with the flooring people. You can't put the flooring in before the conditions because you won't get your warranty. Matter of fact, we had it was a fiber's being held up now. So it seems like it's just hit and miss, but it's an awful lot of hitting right now. So.
We're planning for Plan B and Plan C.
Yeah.
I was hoping she'd chime in.
It's bad. Supply chain's really bad for everything, so they're not pulling, just working in the building industry, they're not pulling a fast one. It's really, really bad. Everything is pushed way out.
Yeah, and we've been fortunate so far that we've gotten in everywhere in time, so we'll adjust. It'll be fine. We'll work it out.
And I think it's important, Dr. Perkins has brought it up, and Rick has in our meetings, that we want the building to be nice. We don't want to throw it together so quickly that we have problems like we've had in the past. So it's coming together nice, and it's a tough question. I don't know. But if I had a whole bunch of money, I know which side I'd put it on. That would be
Yeah.
insider trading, wouldn't it? Kind of thing.
Love it.
All right, anything else? Appreciated being here.
Thanks for
Again,
coming.
The invitation, reach out again. We'll get you through when you want to. So,
All right.
thank
We
you.
can do a walkthrough.
Thank you. All right, and our last presentation is the ESSER presentation.
All right, so we're going to be pretty brief.
Yeah, Bob, we ceded our time, we ceded our time to Bob.
We
Sorry,
just
Bob.
wanted-
Oh, you're still here? You're still here? I'm sorry.
No, we just wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about, everybody talks about the ESSER funds and kind of what districts are and have been spending their money on. So we thought we would educate you on what we've been doing as a district. Just to put it up here, it's the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund Act. The point was to address the impact that COVID-19 has had on schools across the nation. So you can see ESSER 1, 2, and 3, how much was placed out, and you get a direct proportion of that to how you get your title funds. So our district has received a little over $4 million. And so while not all of it is spent, and we're not going to detail every item we've purchased, we did kind of group some things together so you could at least know where that money has gone this year.
Like Tanya said, I mean, when we received the funds, there was like 15 criteria, and what we've done is basically distilled these down into these 6 areas. And I just wanted to use the word distilled in front of you guys too. So the first one you're looking at is student well-being. In that area, we spent a portion of the funds on a social worker over a 3-year span for salary and benefits, as well as SWL curriculum tied to state standards and dealing with executive function. It's 6 through 12. When we talk about an executive function, we're talking about working memory, regulation process, things like that that don't develop in some people until they're 25 years old, and in others we're still developing. So we're working on that. The next one is continuity of operations. There was a great deal of money that we spent here in different areas. First were the school buses. Currently, we purchased 3 school buses with exterior cameras designed to identify stoplight violators. We have 6 additional buses coming. That was almost $1 million worth of expenditures there. About $325,000 for the fiber ring, unifying all the buildings. Athletics received a one-time payment to make them whole following gate receipt losses during that pandemic. Food service, it was a slight amount, but we got some slicers, we got some baggers. That'll help improve speed and sanitation. Theater supplies, it was tools, equipment for set construction. Also, some licensing fees for the plays, as well as technology, cameras, monitors, and computers for some of the additional programming that is going to be offered at the high school.
We also spent some of that money on the academic impact of lost instructional time from when the students were learning at home. So currently in K-5, we use Bridges as our math program, and each building previously had one intervention kit to help students who were struggling, and they had to share it. So with this money, we were able to buy additional intervention kits to help close the gaps with math. We were able to expand our summer intervention this past summer and for the next few summers coming up, including transportation listed there. So we were able to transport kids K-5 to get some summer intervention. LLI kits, our literacy kits that our title teachers use, so we were able to expand that and offer more intervention services there. Again, same thing with foundations, that's our phonemic awareness in elementary. And then those summer stipends to help not only with summer school, but to work on our curriculum maps to make sure we have encompassed and that we're pre-testing and getting everything done to see those educational gaps with our kids. The next category was differentiated student learning. So these are all programs that we have used the money to help us with. So we were able to pay for MAP, STAR, and Freckle for a couple years out of this, which is our progress monitoring tool and how we see if students are on level. eDoctrina and Alex, curriculum maps, common quarterly assessments, all of those things are in there. RAS Kids and Learning A to Z are a primary learning tool where the books are online and we can print out decodable readers for kids to take home. And then Edmentum and ACE Digital, which specifically service our Digital Academy students. And then also technology. So we were able to fund a digital lab at the high school to expand some course offerings there, buy iPads for the art department, and Chromebooks. So I think as of now, we've purchased 350 Chromebooks out of ESSER. We have another 300 on the way. But all together this year, from all kinds of different funding sources and grants, we were able to purchase nearly 1,500 Chromebooks. including touchscreen ones for our kindergarten students, which is pretty exciting. And then we were able to make the high school and the intermediate whole with their cameras from the building project.
And then student learning supports book rooms, about each of the K3 buildings. We spent $10,000 on leveled reading book sets for each of the buildings. The art displays, if you remember going through the art show, those black, they were cumbersome, they were large, they were difficult to store. They've been replaced by newer models with basically poles and mesh. They're easier to store, they're gonna be easier to move. With the Digital Academy, like Tanya mentioned, K5 through ACE and Edmentum are 6 through 12 providers. The agricultural program, we have an agricultural teacher that we brought on, we've funded over the next 3 years, as well as kind of basically, pardon the pun, but seed money to start the program, and all the supplies that were needed at that point.
You planned that, didn't you?
We worked hard on that.
Oh, yeah, a lot of time.
Any questions?
I meant the seed money.
Thank you. So it's pretty much all allocated then, what we've gotten? We still can do more things?
We can still do more things. We sit down and look at it regularly as a team of, 4 district leaders and decide everything that it's going to. So there is still money
Okay.
there in case things pop up or new adventures, we want to partake in, but
And I am,
we've spent a significant amount.
does it have to be spent within a certain time frame?
Yes.
I was gonna say, because some of these things you stated were like 3 years. What happens if, when we want to continue that, we can't save and use it later?
So the majority of the things we have worked out how we will sustain them in the future. A lot of these were one-time purchases though
Right.
as well, so we won't have to worry about sustainability.
I mean, some of them are staff members.
Yeah, that's
so-
why we only added 2.
Yes.
A lot of districts were adding a lot of staffing, but then how do you sustain it?
Yeah.
So we thought with 2, we would be fine longevity-wise once
Okay.
these grants run out. Much beyond that, Tanya's right, we'll be okay with the rest of the items.
With the ag program, we've increased programming not only at the middle school, but at the high school as well.
Right.
And that'll create a graduation pathway.
Right.
And one thing to note too, 20% of those funds have to be spent on, focusing on the academic loss of students. So that's why the heavy focus of the summer, that Tanya spoke about, the summer reading intervention, and now we're offering transportation, because that's a lot of times our hurdle to get kids there that are behind is that they don't have the rides. So that has been something that's been very beneficial for our younger students.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, moving forward. Request to speak on agenda items, Teamsters, Southwest Licking Education Association. Okay, we need item number 4, approval of minutes for both the one or the other or both organizational meeting or regular meeting or both.
Move approval for A and B.
Second?
Any questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Passes. Item 5, financial report.
I move acceptance of the financial report.
Second.
Included in the agenda is the executive summary for January 31st, 2022. The big thing is we got a third income tax settlement for the year. It came in about 13% higher than we expected, which, if you remember, in October, it came in lower. So this one came in higher. It actually worked out. They were actually 0.87% above where we expected to be at. So we're right on target now. And they just kind of balanced each other out. So that was a good thing. The new school funding formula came into effect in January. There was a makeup payment, it was a little north of $1 million for pretty much as if the formula was in place for the whole school year. So between that one and then the second one in January, there were 2 kind of all makeup payments and getting it all in line. So right now, school foundation is higher than we anticipated, which I expected to be pretty close in the end. So it'll probably work itself out as we move forward. But again, puts all our revenue back where we anticipated being, actually better than we anticipated. Expenditures were pretty much right on target for the for the month, and then, right now we're about 3% below where we anticipate being, so we're running really well compared to where we anticipate being at this time. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anyone?
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 6, personnel consent calendar. You can take all or one.
All on personal consents, all.
Yep. Move approval 6A through I.
Second?
Any questions, comments?
I was just going to share that you will notice the resignation of a few bus drivers. Not all of those were expected or that we knew were coming. However, we are still maintaining a full fleet of bus drivers. We have been able to hire some additional ones, and they're continuing to work on training subs. So currently, we're when everyone's at work, we're still doing okay as far as that situation is concerned.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Passes. Item 7, more personnel.
Move approval 7A through C.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Abstain?
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Those pass. Item 8, business items. Looks like we have some stuff we need to pull out.
It's up to you. You can do mine
Well,
one
we can-
time or pull them out separately.
We can open them all up and go one by one.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we'll do one by one.
Motion to approve 8A.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
So this one is, basically we have a conflict of interest policy, but in the higher revised code, there's some exceptions that you can, under certain circumstances, you can purchase services from a staff member's spouse, but those exceptions were never put in our policy. It's in the law, but not in the policy. And our attorney advised us, and we do have some that do help us, painting and so forth, so we're trying to bring in line with what the higher law says we can do. And we have procedures to make sure that we meet the exceptions that allows us to do this. So we're asking the board to approve the policy to bring in line with the law.
Comments or questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. 8B.
So if you're logged in, there's a public comment. If you want to pull up the picture that's attached to PDF, we're planning on going out to bid very soon, probably the next couple weeks on the projects. This is kind of as it stands right now. So basically the parking lot as it is, the tennis and the softball fields, a lot of that is part of the base bid. The baseball field, all the bases and all that stuff is not actually leveling the ground out, putting drainage in. That is part of base bid, but putting the field all together is not. But it is alternates that we will be hoping that the prices come in well then. Not everything on the 2 softball fields is part of base bid. If you see just north of the road there a little bit, there's like a square. That's like ideally a press box they want there. That is not part of base bid, that's an alternate. So what we're getting to basically is we want to go to basically out to bid. Originally we borrowed $2 million for this project. Based on the last estimate from Garner Miller and what I've told you, it's come in at 2.8 million. So the estimates came in higher than we anticipated. So in order to move forward, we have 2 options. We can move more stuff to alternates, but some of the stuff we have in alternates we feel probably should have been under this, but or what we're asking is, Dr. Perkins and myself, is to allocate additional $1 million towards this project for the base bid items. And we're hoping the estimates are very high, and we can basically get everything in some of the alternates. And then depending on where all the bids come in, if it's not a whole lot of money, we may be coming back to the board and asking, do you want to move forward with the baseball field or not, once you know the prices. So it's going to be something we talk about once we know all the prices. So I include also attached other executive content is basically how, proposing fund it. So there's different areas that we have money set aside for construction projects and stuff, and money's allocated to different projects. But right now, there's about $2.1 million that's not allocated. So what we're asking for is $1 million of that money to be moved up for the tennis courts and the softball fields to allow us to move forward with bidding. And hopefully we don't need it all, or if we do need it, it can be applied towards a baseball field or something.
And the baseball field will be leveled regardless, though. That's
Either
part
way, base
of-
bid is, it's gonna be leveled, it's gonna be drains put in, that's all part of base bid.
Okay.
We just feel as if it would be better to do the majority, if not all, of the project at one time, as opposed to going out there and piecemealing it together and, working around those areas when things are gonna be going on in games, so.
Yeah, we're really hoping it'll come in well, that we can, if we have
Get
to.
it
Because
all
right now, they have about 900,000 estimated for all the alternates and stuff. So that'd put us closer to $4 million versus 2. We've got 3 now. We're hoping bids come in lower, so maybe we say, okay, a couple 100,000 more, 400,000, we can do it all.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't include everything they want. There's a future concession stand, future field houses, some batting cages they want in the future, but we can get the field in place. They're very nice fields. For all of them would be nice. So
And it would be
that's
a nice facility, and then we
Yes.
can look on down the road to utilize the solar panel money to continue to add on to things that we need outside for our facilities, which is an opportunity for concessions and those sort of things at the new facility with the softball.
And with it
baseball,
being that
yes.
nice, we would have the opportunity to do tournaments and stuff and make
Yeah.
money that way.
Absolutely. Yep.
between those fields and the current varsity field and the current softball field,
We have a lot of
Mr.
opportunities.
Perkins thinks there's plenty of space to do tournaments and so forth.
Good.
Gonna be awesome.
Perfect.
So basically, all this discussion, I did include a motion, if you're willing to move it, would be to approve additional $1 million for this, for the tennis and softball project, softball field project.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. That passes. 8C, football and soccer field lights.
You want a motion first?
Yeah, can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, motion to award the retrofit of LED lights for football and soccer stadiums.
Second.
Okay. So as part of looking at the issue with the fields, both fields throughout last year, lights going in and out, obviously we're getting that issue fixed. That's kind of separate from this project. And that's the first thing we're doing is, they believe the wiring was burnt part of a lightning strike that occurred. That's getting fixed. Right now, the one estimate has about $20,000. This was basically as part of talking to about, be more energy efficient. We talked to Musco about changing out the old incandescent, lights with LED lights, which would give it more brightness, but also save tremendous amount of energy. Attached is like the quote, for example, they gave estimate that we'd save 48% or 47% on the football field lights each year of energy usage. That's quite a bit of money. So, and then same thing with soccer. I think soccer was in the same range. It was, it was 48% for soccer. So, by basically changing out the current lights, which have been in there for several years, they were there before I got here, the football field, point LED, and then there'd basically be 50-foot candles at the football field. That'd be very, very bright. It'll be really nice. And good thing with LEDs, if they kick off, boom, they kick right back on. There's no waiting for them to warm up, cool down, whatever they have to do. So basically we reached out to Musco because SWL, Cooperative Purchasing Program, bid these projects out. Musco came in as the basically lowest bid pricing. So we're purchasing off the SWL contract, which doesn't require us to bid these or get quotes. So what I'm asking is, if you go back to that first spreadsheet I just showed you, part of that 2.1, we already included the money in there to do the LED lights too, and to fix it. So that money's there and still gives us 2.1 million in funds to use for other areas, so.
And the thing he's not adding on yet is this bid actually came in even less expensive and includes, we wanted to get a separate bid on it, but they rolled it in here, for less money, the show lights on the football field. So that will be, I don't know if you've seen those, have you been to a game that has the, so that it will coordinate with certain plays and,
Oh,
yeah.
Score a touchdown, all the lights would start blinking.
really?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Or go aside, so it's a
That is cool.
feature that would make it really neat. you know.
Nice.
So we didn't think we'd be able to make
But
that
not
happen.
in a strobe light manner. I've
No, it's
already
not
cleared this up.
strobing, they're just basically,
No, they're not.
it could be like each one shuts off at a time.
I didn't want any.
No, from the videos we saw, there's no strobe light, but there's a lot of different things you can do.
Are we keeping the same poles then?
Yes, basically save money, because they can get them on those poles, and that's
And
part
will
of it.
this be ready for football season, or is this something we
Yes.
have to wait forever
Yeah,
for?
no, he said basically, we're getting the electric fixed right away.
Okay.
We have
And
a
then they
nice
said there's like
time
10 to a 14-week lead time to get the stuff in.
And
but
Gardner
It should be done before football season starts.
Okay.
But the electric
Football
will
and
be
soccer
done-
season, too.
The electric will be done before.
Way
it's
before.
because we have a nighttime track meet, so that is,
On
the
April
bid, he already has the estimate for this. so
He's
that's-
already got to get one more estimate left, but then he'll be moving forward with that. But it'll be really nice, and then it'll be basically a huge improvement in lighting for both fields.
You won't go to a game and watch the lights go out on two stadiums.
They go out because we score a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about those or anything?
All right, Mr. Jones.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes, and that passes. Item D, the Skinnell Properties abatement.
Motion approval?
Second?
Discussion?
Speak it up, basically, it's in line, it's actually probably the best deal we've got from a company. Thanks to push from Mr. Vincent and Mrs. Moore. So basically, we're getting 30% of the jet income tax for not less than 30 years. Typically, in the first few, we were getting like 1.5 cents per leasable square foot. Last two, we get 5 cents. With Skinnell, they agreed to a 9 cents per leasable square foot payment. And the example for $500,000 was like $45,000 a year. That's for 15 years. On top of that, they're giving a $20,000 donation to the school district to use for any legal purposes we want to use that money for, and $10,000 to offset legal fees. So this is a really good deal. It's 100% 15-year abatement, but potential, again, revenue. We're using a lot of that money I was showing you for contingency is coming from this JED revenue. It's allowing us to do a lot of things in this district,
Yeah.
and this will actually add to that ability to do things. So, board to approve this abatement.
Any comments or questions?
And if we did not approve this abatement, there was a good chance that they would go around us and again, and we would be left out, correct?
Out
I mean,
of-
that's the bottom
yes.
line, that we could either cooperate and get our best deal, or there was a large chance we could be left out completely,
Commissioners already
correct?
left us
The
out from the first
commissioners have left us out, correct? So,
I agree.
Okay.
Anything else?
no. So good job, Mrs. Moore and Mr. Vincent.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 8E, an MOU with Teamsters 413.
I move approval.
Second?
I can talk about this, Rick. So the transportation department has had some significant hardships this year. One, due to COVID like others, but there are some extreme unfortunate circumstances that have impacted a lot of our employees down there. So they came to us asking for what we could work together with them on for kind of a 1 year outside the current contract. So currently the sick leave pool, which allows them to give their members additional sick leave, just like the teachers have, is a maximum 55 days per school year. They have not utilized all those days yet, but they're getting close. So given the circumstances and knowing the different situations of some of the transportation staff that are pretty significant. We agreed to do a one-year MOU that would allow them to have more than that 55 days for those extreme circumstances of their employees, which would, help the employee and also helps us because it keeps us able to stay as one of our employees to hopefully get healthy, come back and drive a bus and maintain our insurance. So we feel it's the right thing to do for the school year.
And as a follow-up, this is the exact same the MOU the board approved for SLE during the 17-18 school year. Okay. We had an issue with somebody and we gave them the same MOU, so.
Good.
Any questions? Mr. Jones?
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. And that passes. 8F, Pataskala HVAC controls urgent necessity.
Motion to approve?
Second?
All right, this is me. Just brought to our attention recently that basically Pataska's controls were ran by the controls in the old high school. So the main control box was in the old high school.
For
So
Pataska.
Pataska, yeah. So when they renovated, we no longer have controls for heating, cooling
Oh, boy.
that are easily controllable. And that's why sometimes the building's hot, building's cold, they're running into that issue. And this kind of came on late because I was just giving the price this morning. This says the price to do this is basically we're putting a new control package in, the same one we put in all of our other buildings. And what a good thing is, this will be the same control system we use when we renovate the building. We'll be doing
Okay.
it. So it's the exact same company. So basically, right now, the cost is $20,618 just to put the controls in. But depending on how many VAV boxes they have to replace, they're like $1,500 a piece. There's like 20 some, that puts us over to $50,000 potential requirement to bid. They won't know that till they start the project. So in order to basically move as quickly as possible with this project, not finding halfway through it that we have to bid it or something, I'm asking the board to approve urgent necessity for go bidding, go with Plug Smart, who's doing all of our older controls and all of our other buildings, to get that building under control. I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know how they
How is
did.
it even possible?
I don't know how they didn't know about it.
Who chose that?
I don't know. I don't know why the main head was there. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure we didn't realize it was in there.
I was
that
going
we
to
should've
say,
took
at
it.
what point were we like,
That's a good idea.
right?
I mean, that system's been in there for how many years?
Down the road.
Yeah, so I just don't know. I thought we would have realized it before we did construction that we need to do something, but we're here, what we are, where we're at now is where we need to take care of the issue, get that building back under control, and make sure that it can be as controlled as good as possible. Then when the new systems come in, new chillers, these controls will work. So we're not wasting the money, and we're actually using part of the $5 million, which would have been used for the renovation, to pay for this work. So the MOU is up to $100,000. Hopefully it's nowhere near that. But to give us if we did all 50, if we did 56, it gets it like 90,000, so a little bit of room there. So yeah, I can't explain how it happened, why it happened. I just know we need to fix it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. But, so.
Any other questions that Mr. Jones can't answer?
You know, I just know we have an issue and we got to fix it. I just don't know how. I just know. So.
All right, Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. All right, and final item for 8 is the Watkins Middle School Curriculum Guide.
Motion to approve?
Second.
So I guess my suggestion would be to have Mr. Ball maybe do a quick little walkthrough of the changes, and then you guys can ask them questions and go from there.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
good evening. So I guess the first thing I'll mention in terms, there were, just in the transition between Mr. Brown and myself from last year, there were some things that were added on later. So we made sure we rectified some of those kind of things. You know, the ag program, was a little bit later, things of that nature. We are expanding that building-wide this year, so there'll be a lot more, offerings for all 3 grade levels for our environmental sustainability courses. We're also going to be offering a course called AFNR, which is Agriculture, Foods, and Natural Resources. That will also be mirrored at the high school, and so that's a part of that agricultural pathway we're talking about, and as we continue to add courses to that up at the high school. But that'll be a high school credit course that is going to be offered next year. So we also are fortunate that we're going to have the opportunity to increase art offerings next year. I'm excited about that. So we are reconfiguring how we are rolling that out. We're going to offer some foundational level art courses that will allow some connectivity to kind of more in-depth art courses as kids progress through the middle school. Some of the other things, as I said, were just things that we were doing already but needed to be put in the curriculum guide, as noted. You're aware of the humanities structure that we offer at the 6th grade level. So we just changed some of the wording on those things. Just some verbiage changes regarding enrichment courses, just in terms of calling them exactly what they do. So with the enriched piece there. We're working with our Spanish teacher, Mrs. Merkel, to offer some exploratory level courses at the 6th grade level for Spanish. So that way we can offer a wider menu of options for 6th grade as well. In PE, I've been working with our PE teachers since we're going to be in the beautiful new building. We are much closer to the weight room over there too. So we were going to start offering some options for kids to maybe take a weightlifting class similar to what they do at the high school, which will also have the benefit of keeping our gym open during some lunch periods, which would be nice. So we're excited about that. And then, another piece we've been working with Mr. Tanchevsky and Mrs. Lejeune on in terms of our acceleration program for math. We are going to be, and we put this into the curriculum guide just so parents are aware, because we're going to roll out scheduling here starting next week, pending your approval. We are going to be doing an algebra readiness test in March, where students are going to be permitted the opportunity to come in and sit for that placement test, just to get a gauge of where they're at and if they're comfortable moving forward taking that high school credit class. But we're doing so with the caveat that we want them to perform at a certain level. We want them to earn a B average. We want them to score at least proficient on that test. If they fall a little short of that, they can always go back and audit and retake, so that way we get them skill-wise where they need to be as they enter high school. Any questions?
I have some. So I got this late today, so this was just a quick read, but there were some questions that I had, so I'll just kind of go through my list. It's kind of long, but so the humanities is just at the 6th grade, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that is ELA and social studies.
Correct.
Okay. So, like, when I look at the grade bands on page 1, I don't know, can you stream the document up there or no? That would make it easier for me to explain. All right, thank you. So if you look on page 1, you'll see how it says the humanities is ELA and social studies. And then, like, it has math 6 and enriched math 6.
Correct.
But then if you go down and you look at the curriculum guide itself, for 6th grade, starting on page 3, you'd never see the word humanities. And then they also offer enriched English language arts, but up at page 1, it just shows ELA. It doesn't show the enriched where the math did. So I don't know, I just thought as
Confusing.
far as aligning things,
We can fix that.
maybe need a little more clarification.
For sure.
The other question, or the other concern that I had was with the, it's not even with the term, but why are we going from using the word honors to enriched?
So ultimately, in some of the discussions we had, we had a lot of conversations and feedback from some parents just about some of the stigmas associated with calling it as such. And so in conversation, where we arrived at was, let's just call it what it is. We're enriching and compacting curriculum. And so ultimately, we were just being very literal in terms of what the course was offering,
Okay.
which was an enriched
Because
version.
the term itself didn't matter to me as much, but as far as sequencing of our program, the high school uses the word honors. So I thought that there may be some confusion there because the terminology is not matching. And then if you look up at 8th grade math, geometry, it uses that term honors. So I just thought for consistency, I thought we would use the same thing. That seemed kind of, I don't know, just different.
Because geometry in the 8th grade is a high school class. That's why they use honors there.
Right. I was just saying, I thought in terms of like a message, we would use honors throughout, and that was my concern.
For continuity.
Yes.
Okay. And I have not spoken to Mrs. Ladowitz, so we did not, outside of the ag offerings, we didn't necessarily collaborate on that part. So I mean, we can certainly have those conversations and be as consistent as you'd like us to be.
Okay. And then moving on with, you look on page 3, it talks about, well, all the math classes say this is a level 1 math course, this is a level 2 math course. I didn't really understand what that meant, and I didn't see it clarified anywhere.
Those were rolled over, I think, from previous years. We didn't change the verbiage on those, and I think it's when you think of entry-level course for that particular grade level versus an accelerated course, that's where that verbiage came from.
Okay, and then I'm assuming this is a typo, but also where it says Enrich Math 6, it says placement in this course will be based on criteria set forth in gifted handbook. I'm sorry, let me go before then. Identified as gifted in math and or superior cog. Okay, go down now to 7th grade math, gifted, which is on page 7, I believe. And it says, we'll cover this course open to students who have been identified as gifted in reading and language arts and superior cog. So I was assuming that was just a typo, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I should have sent it to you ahead of time.
No, you're good.
You're doing better than everybody else.
Consistency is my thing. Like, I like everything to be aligned. And that was my, so going along that same theme, if you see down there, it says algebra, right? Is that the high school algebra 1 course?
Correct.
Okay, so you see how it's typed up for 7th grade, right? It's nothing about the grade qualification of being a B or anything like that. If you go down to 8th grade, it's actually called Algebra 1.
Yep. These are good. Yep.
Yeah.
Good catches.
On page 14,
Yeah.
to help you.
You need to cut and paste that. So
Yeah,
it's the same course.
it's
in
actually-
7th grade and 8th grade.
It's actually called Algebra 1.
Yes.
Need an editor.
So
Yeah,
I just thought for consistency that should be the same thing.
it should be.
And then I'm almost through my questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, I typed this up real fast, so I'm making sure I got through. Okay. So I understand, as a teacher, I understand the qualifier that was put in for algebra. But I don't know, as a parent, I don't know that I necessarily like that.
Which, could you be more
You
specific?
have to have a B and get a 3.
Okay.
What if I get a 2 or a 1 on the test, but I'm not a great student and I get a C? Is it fair that I have to retake it even though I've shown the ability to get 1 or 2? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and I think, in our conversations, I mean, so much of this, and we've had prior conversations about where we stand with math. And I think we wanted to keep it as a rigorous, expectation that we reach that level, so that way we're not barely qualifying, to get ourselves into high school. We want those kids hitting the ground running when they
And
hit
I
high
get
school.
that, and I would want that too, but as a parent, I don't know that I like that decision being taken from me.
John, can I interject? I think the biggest thing, coming from the high school and noticing when kids come in with Algebra 1 skills, the way these kids are going to perform, particularly in Algebra 2, and the way our curriculum is set up, kids are coming in taking Algebra 1 as freshmen, geometry, then going to Algebra 2. If they do not have a strong geometry, there may be some crossover there, but that algebra piece, the 2 piece is huge. And I think, in talking with Jared and trying to put this together, this is something that I talked about when I was a high school principal. I think it's important that we build those foundational skills in Algebra 1, because after that, if we don't get that, then Algebra 2 becomes a struggle across the board. So that was a lot of the thinking that went into this.
Okay, and I get that. I guess my concern is if I had a C kid, like maybe I have a kid who knows how to do the work but just doesn't do the homework or whatever, but wound up getting 1 is the highest, right, on that test?
No.
5.
5, okay. Let's say they get a 5, but they get a C. Is it fair to make them retake it? That's my concern.
And that was the other thing we talked about. We would have some conversations and kind of look at some different things, but I think these are guidelines, they're out there, they're expectations, and again, the intent is to create that strong foundation, but, like Mr. Ball and Mrs. Lados, I'm sure are gonna work with different families and different kids.
Okay, so along that same line, if you look where it's, we're on page 14 again, at Algebra 1, I mean, I get it. I'm not thrilled with it, but I get that. But if you go back to Algebra 1, it's at the bottom. It says students must earn a combination of a B average and score a proficient 3 on the state test. Students failing to reach this level of proficiency will be scheduled to retake Algebra 1 for 9th grade. We just discussed that. But if you go now to the very last page and you look at number 5, it's not necessarily consistent with what that said. Students electing to take Algebra 1 for high school credit must earn at least a B and score a proficient 3 on that level. Those students who fall short may be required to read. So in the one spot it says they have to do it. Here it says may. So I was just looking for consistency.
I got you. We got cleanup to do.
Okay. And then my last question goes back to my favorite topic of school fees. So honors geometry has a school fee, and all the school fees were listed here in the handbook, but I didn't see the fee for the honors geometry. Are we not charging that, or are we? That was another question in terms of consistency, but also equity. It's a small fee, but
Right, well, I mean, I don't know that ultimately,
Is-
I don't have an answer for you.
well, I guess
because
my
the high
question
school
is:
level,
the honors geometry taught at the middle school, or is it taught at the high
It's
school?
taught at the high school.
Okay, so should that fee be included then?
I'm assuming, and not
For
having the
equity.
high school handbook in front of me, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I mean.
It's $3. It's not a big. I looked it up. It's $3, but in terms of consistency, and if we're charging the high school kid $3, then we probably should be charging the middle school kid
Yeah,
$3.
they're the ones, they do travel, because we don't send a geometry. Usually that number is a very small number of kids.
The licensing doesn't fit for middle school either, because everybody's 4 and 9 usually.
Okay. So I guess my question is, do we approve it as printed tonight? Do we wait for the?
I think Mr. Ball can clean up the.
I think
Okay,
most of these
all
are
right.
just cleanup things.
I mean, how do you all feel about the algebra qualification?
I'm okay with it. As a parent, and since you were talking as a parent, I'll talk as a parent. And one of my kids had algebra as an 8th grader, and he did fine, but I think I might have chosen to wait so that he would be stronger where he is now, because now he's not as fine as he was, if that makes sense.
Well, if I may, I think one of the points you hit on was, if they're demonstrating that they understand and have mastered the content, but their grade is not reflective of that. That's on their high school transcript, and as a junior high student, is that how we want them starting high school? So even though they may demonstrate that, are we putting them in the best position to be successful?
I'm okay with it, I think. I do have one question, though. It's not really a question, it's to let you know, because I filled out the Google form for this option, and there's 2 radio buttons at the bottom that
Okay.
you have to agree to both those terms, B and state proficiency. The Google form only allows you to pick one, even though the whole point is to click both to agree.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
We will
I
get
just
that
picked one.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think actually this is a good idea. I think we need to make our kids stronger than what we're doing right now. And I think we Unfortunately, I mean, my kid was in algebra as an 8th grader, and she got an A and she got a 4 or 5 on her thing, and she's still struggling in AP, whatever she's taking. So, you know what? Yeah, they still, yeah, they need to get, they need to get a B, and they need to be able to get a proficient score on their test before they go on, and if not, then they need to take it. It's not gonna, we need to encourage those kids, even if there are brighter kids, to do their best.
I 100% agree. I do like the idea of like having the discussion if
Yeah.
everything is all in place, because again, you have test anxiety and state tests
Yep.
and,
Yeah,
and all that.
absolutely.
And if all things equal, the kids
Yeah.
had straight A's on every test.
And it was a bad day.
And it was
Yep.
everything had
Yeah.
an A in the class, and then just gets a 2, and
Yeah.
maybe there is something to look at that point,
Absolutely.
like you said. But other than that, I'm totally on board.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
this.
yes, kids are individuals, absolutely, but we need to make encouraging things to make sure that we're
Set up for success.
set up for success, continually set up for success. Yeah.
And like, do you think you and Melissa would talk about connecting the term? Do you guys think it's important to have the high school term like honors or the middle school term in written?
I think the discussion needs to happen.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing about that, though, is I'm not 100% sure that those are exactly the same classes. Does that make sense? That,
I mean, I think they can talk and
yeah,
kind of see if there's a way to come to a common ground, or
Yeah.
if because of their differences there's not, and then
okay, yeah,
go from there.
all right.
We can have a discussion.
Yeah.
I think nothing is harmed from having a discussion about it.
Right.
Yep.
And might I also add, that Mr. Ball did do his due diligence, although he has some work to do. He definitely had it in time. The delay in getting it to the board is on the district leadership team, including myself, just being behind. So that's not on him.
And on a separate note, I'm going to say the same thing to you that I said to Melissa. I am crazy pleased with the expansion of opportunities that you all are giving our kids.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Agreed.
I mean, just
absolutely.
amazing.
Well,
with-
we haven't been told no a ton with these ideas,
Yeah,
so
with-
we're excited to
with
talk.
journalism and creative
Yes.
writing and theater and agriculture and
Yes.
just,
It's nice to see some new ads.
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
The
So-
creative writing is really so exciting.
I know.
One I missed too, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, was the newspaper, which we did implement this year.
yeah.
And, Mr. Janelle had mentioned they got to go over and visit the site, and they're reporting on it, and they're getting pretty good. They're
Nice.
Maybe we'll send them your way, because they grill you pretty good.
There you go.
I would love that.
That would be
Please
fun.
do.
Absolutely. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 9, treasurer's items.
Motion to approve 9A through C.
Second.
Just all usual stuff, donations from various entities. We always appreciate that. Then and now's a couple of those, just deal with timing, getting invoices and purchase orders. And then statement purpose for a couple new student activity accounts dealing with the middle school and high school orchestra.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. And item 10, superintendent items.
Okay. Have you guys take one? Oh, sure. Sorry, keep one for yourself, sorry. One of these. Oh,
Post-COVID, I'm learning not to lick papers before I pass them. Kathy thanks me for
I
that.
do.
all right. And then
Oh, there's more.
one of those. Sorry, one more.
You're good.
It's okay.
This is a non-liquor here.
Oh, boy.
So, I'll wait till
Oh, boy.
Which one are you going with first?
I'm going to start with the non-colored number chart with how many days we've been in school.
Okay.
Ooh, that's shiny.
Okay, so this, I just kind of wanted to give you a breakdown just in case, or future preparation if we get any more bad weather in February. Currently, and I think the most important thing to focus on is the final column where it says overage days. That is how many days by hours we have left by each grade level. Now, one thing to note in the little box below, Etna is actually at 1.3 left because they had those 3 days over, the break when they moved in. So, besides the Etna staff, who still has a day, 1.3 days left, we're doing fine as far as calamity time and the hours required based on our current situation with snow days and 2-hour delays. So hopefully we have no more, but February can be sometimes unpredictable. So I wanted to give you an update so you could see where we're currently sitting at with each grade level.
Why does the sixth
I
grade
knew someone was going to ask
have
that.
20
Yeah.
days?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because the sixth grade is in our middle school, but yet they fall under by the state the hours
Gotcha.
required at elementary. So
Okay.
they follow. So that's where they're always. They could miss a lot of school. Don't tell them that, especially.
I
the
have
kids.
one of those.
So we're doing okay right now. The one concern, if something happened and we had another storm like that, Etna would be our big issue. But I can't anticipate hitting any of these days in any of the buildings. So, any questions on that? Okay. I'm going to do the enrollment next, the colored chart. So there's nothing really substantial to currently note in the enrollment. Pretty steady, from January to February, an increase of 4 students. So, we're kind of staying status quo. I will say, as of this evening, we have had 120 kindergarten students fill out, start the process through our new final forms. Unfortunately, I can't compare that to last year based on the difference in how Registration Gateway worked with final forms. I can tell you in having conversations, we feel, and talking to Dr. Moore, we feel that's significantly higher. So either people are really on it, which we hope, or we're going to have an influx of kindergartners. We're not sure which one. So considering it just opened, we'll be obviously watching those numbers. So any questions on the enrollment piece? Okay, then the last thing I wanted to talk about in this section was the strategic plan. Obviously, you guys were all a part of this in different capacities, so we kind of have our finalized product, and I thought it would be nice to kind of share what's next. Where do we go from here? We now have our mission, we have our vision statements, our goals, so what are the next steps? So this will be kind of our leading document that will help keep the district focused in a single direction, and then there will be pieces that we'll start working on under each of these. So next year, all of our buildings will have their own individualized action steps that fall under each of the goals. There's 3 action steps. Well, what does that look like for our K through 3 kids? What does that look like for our intermediates? So we'll be working on their individualized plans for their buildings and or grade band. And we're going to start developing that. We're going to have our first ever admin retreat this June. So that's something new we're going to be doing, and that's where we'll start to develop and work on these plans for the next school year. We are also going to be incorporating our strategic plan into our district leadership team meetings, which happens quarterly. So at that will be a standing item where we will be sharing the progress, of each building. And Mr. Tancheski and Dr. Moore are working to reconfigure DLT for next year. And so this will be a heavily focused through the BLTs at the building level on down to the TBTs at teacher teams. So this, talking about these goals and action steps will be a continued piece of conversation. And then where does our community come in? How do we continue to involve our parents and community members who participated and maybe even additional ones that want to join? So each of the vision areas will continue to be, we're going to try a triannual committee meetings. And I would really love to have a board member on each vision area to join that committee. And then the thought would be we'll meet, we'll continue to talk and discuss these things and how it's impacting our community and our schools. And then to come back and share our progress, as a board and in these open forums. And then as a district leadership team, we'll come back once the local report card is released every year when we do our presentation and connect it right back to our strategic plan. So everybody will be involved. It's a working document with teachers, administrators, the community, the Board of Education, and everyone kind of has a role. So we're hoping to use that as our guiding tool to how we plan and focus and work to make the best school district we can for our kids. So a brief overview. Do you have any questions or? So at some point in the next coming months, we'll be talking about maybe who has interest in joining what visionary area, and obviously if you want to, but I think it'd be nice to have a board member participate in each of those. And we'll be revisiting getting our groups together and seeing who was on it before, who wants to continue, and then looking for new people too. It doesn't have to be just who was on the first committee.
I think it's great to see a tangible
Yep.
product
Yep.
of the work
Yeah.
we've done, or you've done.
There's a team effort for sure. Okay, so that is all I have under the superintendent items.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Awesome. All right. Item 11, request to speak on non-agenda items, Teamsters Local 413 or Southwest Licking Education Association. Okay. And item 12, need a motion to adjourn into executive session, and I need to read that, right? For the purpose of employment and compensation of public employees.
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. That motion passes. We are in executive session.
Okay, we're good.
We are returning from executive session, and it is 9:15 p.m. Mr. Jones, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Engel,
Here?
Mrs. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Zani, Mr. Vincent,
Here.
Mrs. Spindler.
Here. We have a quorum. We will continue. Item 13, SLE grievance.
I would like to, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to deny the grievance and direct the board president to work with legal counsel to draft an official response to the union denying the grievance.
I can second that.
Do we have any questions or comments? Mr. Jones?
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 14, need a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Jones?
I'll just pick one.
Yep.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes.